Hello, everybody, and welcome to the NooK on the Voluntary Virtues Network. Tonight, we're going to be doing part 2 on property rights because last week, we were kind of talking about a whole lot, and it got kind of interesting. We didn't really finish it up as well as we should. But so before we do that, as always, talk about what we're drinking around here. Kevin?
I'm drinking air.
Air. Technically,
air's good.
It's a good brand.
Yeah, air's good.
Wet air, dry air.
Can be a liquid depending on what temperature it
humidity
is.
It's like 60% air.
All right.
Nitrogen's good
I was
quality.
just gonna say it's all air, but
good.
it's like
John is drinking.
Yeah, Matt floated me one of his NooK Brewing Company's Otis Oatmeal Stout, and I love it. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Cheers.
I'm drinking Lagunitas Brown Sugar, which is a favorite of mine. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on the podcast at all. If we've done, I may or may not have. It's very good. It's brown ale, very sweet, and pretty high gravity too. So it kind of works well for everybody.
what is high gravity?
Heavy gravity is
It's strong.
Gravity is not necessarily alcohol content.
In layman's term, it's going to be strong.
Yeah, in layman's
Strong,
term,
but
it's something that's going to get you more drunk.
Christy terms.
But if you want to
terms.
really get into
Yes, no.
the geeky stuff of it and the science of it,
Right.
gravity does not necessarily mean alcohol content.
Okay, but what does it mean to me?
It means to you, if it's high
More
gravity, it's
dissolved
more likely
sugars.
gonna
Okay, got it.
more dissolved sugars.
Okay.
It's more likely to get you
Okay.
more drunk.
Got it. Okay.
Christy's drinking.
I'm drinking red velvet cupcakes, red velvet, and it's good. It's a blend of something. It's good.
I am also drinking the Otis Oatmeal Stout, 7.2%. Very good.
Okay, John and Matt are both drinking the same thing. I'm gonna have to try this later.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I guess I've always wanted to do a super serious show. Like, I thought it'd be really funny to one day do the show like really serious, like McLaughlin Group or something. Issue 1, property rights. Matt, your say? No, I can't. No, but before we get started, I'd like to say honestly to you and everybody else sitting here that I'm not currently, nor have I ever been a member of the Communist Party. So moving on.
That comment is from last week.
Yeah, there's somebody apparently had
Sorry,
issues
Oh
with
my gosh,
us.
we got a thumbs down, guys.
Yeah,
Wow.
we were all horribly, I was really sullen for a good 30 seconds after I saw that thumbs down. Like good solid 30 seconds.
It was
I
good
was
though.
like,
We needed to.
You inspired us to do another episode.
yeah, that
Was it just your input?
yes.
It
That
was
proves
considered, thank you.
somebody actually watched the whole thing and then decided they didn't like it
That's
and
right.
clicked
That was-
the
it
thumbs
was
down.
good.
So
thank you.
So
Yes.
yeah, now
Yes.
you just influenced the show, and we're doing a second part on it.
Yes.
So
Property rights.
property rights, part 2. So I guess kind of, Christy, you were mentioning a little bit about that. I guess the nature of it is you're saying that under all conditions, under any and all conditions, if the property is bought by an individual, it is theirs for the entirety of their life until they sell it. Is that
Okay.
would that be your opinion?
Yes,
Issue one.
with the
Sorry.
caveats is
I'm done.
if we
All right.
believe in property rights.
All right.
No, if we believe in land is property, then yes. If we believe land is property and coordinates say that this land belongs to somebody, yes. I mean, it's irrelevant if they use it or not. So I think some of this stuff goes back to if nobody owned any property, what would we do with land? You know, is land something we could even make property? And that's where some of these ideals of should property be something that is used, that's being useful,
So I think the main thing you're getting at is that because it's a limited resource, is what the argument is.
Well, see, the
right?
way I look at it as we're all we come out of our
Everything's
mom's
limited resource,
mom.
so
No, but we come out of we're born, all right? We're born.
We all come of our
We're
own mother's
born.
vagina.
My mother's vagina.
It was a one safe place, brought to another
Unless that
place
was
that
a
was usually kind of
C-section.
bright. Yeah.
So we do, and so I mean, let's just say there's nobody that owns property,
Right.
and we're all on this thing called Earth.
Mm-hmm.
What gives anybody the right to have a certain piece of the property? Okay, really, what does? So at that point, we're not there now, though. We've already gone down
So-
this road
so
where
I-
we've cut things up,
I-
and I've earned money, and I've paid people for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then
But
so.
we used to own humans. People,
You're
humans
right,
used
you're
to own
right, you're right.
humans,
See, and
right?
I can
We
see
don't do that
that.
anymore
I
because
know,
we
and
evolved.
I can see that. I
Right,
really
yeah,
can
yeah,
see that. I
yeah.
can. It's just we're not there. It's like, how do we make that transition where, okay, I've made that, let's say we're going back to the 10,000 acres. Now, I can see a place, as we talked about, where that 10,000 acres is just preserves. It's not being used at all.
Did you get
It's
a mule with
not-
that 10,000 acres?
Did
or
I
not?
what that?
Did you get a mule with that 10,000 acres?
It's possible.
Okay,
They might have
alright.
thrown it.
I don't know why I had to say that, but I felt like I needed to say that.
They
for some
could
reason.
have. Yeah, there was a mule on the property.
Okay,
There
alright,
was,
alright,
yeah.
alright.
But I just wanted to use it because I want to preserve it. You know, I didn't want to do anything with it. I think too much is, do we have to use stuff? No, we don't have to use shit. You know, we
Yeah.
don't. We could just, so.
See, to me, like, okay, so what you're saying, 10,000 acres, you have no intention
mule.
of
And a mule, thank you.
10,000 acres. Somewhere in this 10,000 acres, there's a mule, which because the property is not being maintained, this mule is now wild and living free.
Well, it
And
should
that's
be,
kind of
yeah,
a wonderful
I
thought.
think
Okay.
that's cool.
But, all right. This is the way I look at this, is that, to me, a logical solution to this would be to put up signs somehow. Maybe not even put up like a barbed wire fence, because if you wanted to be like preserve nature,
Allow
you're
people
okay
to
with
come,
people
right.
or animals to be
Yeah,
able to,
yeah,
to pass through
yeah.
it. Okay, so to me, like a solution to that is putting up some sort of sign. And, I mean, this doesn't have to be, paragraphs long. You could just put up a sign that says, I, whatever, own this property. I intend this to be preserved, not preserved. I guess you wouldn't really, preserved is kind of a weird way to say it, but to be kept in a state of nature.
Right. Please don't build on it.
Yeah.
Right. Don't. You
and-
can enjoy it, but don't build on
Yeah,
it. Right.
you are allowed to pass
Right,
within and
right.
without, but do not, destroy this natural habitat, and you can leave it at that. Now, if somebody doesn't want to, violates that, what
but
do you
that's
do
the-
then?
That's it.
And-
That's,
and-
I don't think property rights exist and let the state. It.
So,
it,
so I think
but it
if
doesn't.
nothing, so
No, it's
if
I
nothing
don't
was
know.
if nothing was destroyed, then there's no big issue there. If someone didn't destroy something on the property, then you can't really. If there's something wrong, then I totally lost my train of thought.
It happens. It happens. So there's something wrong with the property, then
Yeah, so if there was damage done, then
Oh,
you could say,
okay,
hey,
right,
look, you
yeah.
destroyed this. I'd like compensation for that. You've done this. I'd like compensation. Basically, as long as there's
Yeah,
something.
but
If
people
there's
have-
actual.
What if? Who's
Well, there has
gonna
to be actual
enforce that,
harm
though?
done.
It has to be a cultural thing. Somebody has to agree
Well, like anything.
that that's even a legitimate ownership.
Yeah, I think that someone was saying earlier about possibly having a blockchain for property. I don't know if something like that would work.
I think that's a solution.
But
that
no,
you'd
it's a
have some way
solution
to-
for a record. It's not a solution for enforcement, though.
Yeah,
I mean, you got a record, but who's
the-
going to adhere to it?
Well,
yeah, however, I mean,
yeah. So
I
John,
thought-
John, and you was chomping at the bit over
Yeah.
here. I can feel it.
No, no.
You had to say that.
No, I mean,
No.
like, let's not move the goalposts. Though. We're
Right.
talking about voluntaristic society, right? So there is no real agency of a supposed authority in a voluntarist society,
Well,
right?
but we have, in a voluntary society, we have people who have different ways of living. You're going to have the
True.
communist one, you're going to have the anarcho-capitalism, you're going to have all
True.
different kinds.
right.
So, all right.
But that doesn't
Right.
mean that there's an agency of authority that's going to make, a final word, a final,
Right.
arbiter or whatever. So my point is that I just want to make sure that we are talking about this place in the future where
Right.
we have abolished the state abolished serfdom, slavery, and all its formations, right? And now we're talking about what is property ownership, to what extent does it exist, what is its nature in a voluntary society. So I'm just trying to say, well, there is no police
No.
state or anything
Yeah.
like that, right? So
It's just us,
right. So
what we agreed to.
how do we settle our differences?
know. Yeah.
I think if you could use technology though as another means to basically if you let's say you do purchase property or you are using property and it's not registered, there's nobody using it, there's nobody who's claimed ownership of it. Being able to say we're using this and it's being used for this, basically allow it, let's say you do want anybody to come camp out, do whatever they want on this property, then maybe you could advertise that, hey, come here, you can come here, camp out, do as you please as long as you're not harming anyone, and really have a way to get that information out that this is what goes on here.
Are you saying a blockchain?
Something like
I think a blockchain's great.
maybe not
So
necessarily a
what
blockchain.
would it take, like a app to actually read the blockchain? How does that work? I mean, I was thinking of that. How do you can put it in the blockchain, but you have to like be able to read the blockchain.
Yeah, I see it more of it as like a some sort of like you claiming your property and letting everybody know this is like I think the internet.
It's a
would be useful.
timestamp. It's basically a time.
Yeah, but then you have to have something
do I understand
that-
it correctly? Is that
yeah.
we're talking about basically a timestamp on a claim within the blockchain?
Yeah, I you could say you could even have it. Yeah, say you're. So it's all recorded and everybody knows this property's in use. It doesn't have to. Nobody has to say what they're using it for. I don't think that would be necessary. But I think it would be nice if you could have something like, I'm doing this here. Let's say you want a job here. I'm using it for this. If you need housing, if you want to build a house on this property, let me know here. So maybe some sort of integration with realty, some like.
So if I already
Distribution of
purchased from
property.
the old system, if I already purchased a piece of land, I could go there and say I've already purchased this land. I mean, who legitimizes that?
Yeah, so I think it would have to be you'd have to have some sort of proof of ownership. Now that definitely would be something that would need to be.
There'd be some weird.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you'd
'cause
want to
I
have
could
good.
say-
You'd want to have a very strict criteria, and that I guess
Then it becomes
that's kind
who
of exactly
validates
what really
right.
makes you own the property.
Yeah.
What's legitimate
Right.
ownership?
I think like for who owns what, a lot of this I think is just really simply solved by common law of like, okay, so you had a contract with one person and you had a contract and you wrote it, submitted it to another person for their property, whatever, and or their use of their property for renting it. You guys come up, the other party agrees to that contract. You have a third person as a witness signed to the contract so that there's somebody to go to say like, well, not only did we both sign it and we both had copies of it, but this person who was not even a party to it also signed it. So I think that solves a lot of the problems in itself. You go back to property claims in like England and France and stuff. Essentially, a lot of that is a blockchain of a sort. You know, it's not electronic, but the same thing is that you still have
A ledger.
there's still records of where it goes, and it just so happens at this point in time that the state is the one that is
the
holding
ledger, right? The record keeper
is holding
yeah.
the records.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't have to be the state that holds
You
the
could always
records.
have you could always
Yeah.
have those records
Right.
transferred to a private organization that is well trusted by anybody participating.
But I think we go back to, is it ethical to own land? You know, is it something that we want to have?
So what's
Is
the
that-
case for not being ethical?
I mean, this is an evolution of my own thought, but let's just say that an example being, let's say a Monet was stolen 7 years, 8 years, whatever it is, and the state has this arbitrary number on when you can stolen goods are no longer or able to be claimed again, right?
Statute of limitations.
Right,
or-
right, statute of
But I
limitations.
say I still own a Monet.
Let's
I
just say
own
that
it.
you bought a Monet and you poured out the millions of dollars it cost to buy a Monet, but just X amount of years ago, that Monet was stolen and the owner is still alive and he's out his Monet, and now you're the supposed rightful owner of a
Yeah, what do
Monet.
you do? I
You
don't know what I would
and
do.
the reality is that's
It's
stolen
stolen.
goods,
It
and
is,
your
yeah.
ownership is fundamentally illegitimate.
I would
Yeah,
try
I
to go
agree.
back, I
You
would
know,
try to go back
the
to
same
the
thing goes
person
with
I
land.
bought it
You know what I'm
from.
saying? Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, these things. Granted, it may outlive the original owner.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that we're not peddling stolen goods still.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And somehow the Mona Lisa's in Paris, right?
But
Well,
some-
It's kind of the same thing, yeah.
but
somehow our
more to-
land, that,
But
yeah.
to the point though, so all this was a lot easier when there was only 500 million people on the planet, and it's only going to get worse when there's 20 billion people on the planet, right? Once all the arable land is claimed, then you have a large percentage of people on the planet who essentially have zero access, or they're dependent upon someone's
Someone else,
goodwill,
right.
And if we have this notion of profit attached to land, then I think that I could see where it divorces us from the natural world, if you will, because where you have this profit motive attached to land. The farmer's motive is profit, and there's nothing wrong with profit. I'm not saying profit doesn't have its place.
Right.
I'm saying when you're talking about a finite good, a finite item such as land, if we want to build this ideal of voluntarism, we should consider elements, philosophical elements that allows the philosophy to be sustainable. When we've reached 20 million, is voluntarism still viable? If it's rooted in the principle of land ownership. And
But
I'm just
might be,
saying,
it might still be.
and I'm
yeah.
open ears.
Yeah.
I just think this is a good thing to discuss.
You brought up a good point. I'm kind of glad you went in that direction because you're mentioning it earlier before we turned on the camera, which is funny. Like sometimes we're actually talking about this, and if you think this is a good idea, put it in the comments somewhere. If you think this is a good idea, we're thinking about just like going around with the GoPro the whole night and just recording the whole thing and putting that up
We have
as
some
like
amazing stuff tonight.
as a podcast or something of its own of just like. I do it just for the hell of it. Just walk around all night with a GoPro and hope everybody doesn't think it's too creepy, and do that as some sort of a show in itself. But you were mentioning earlier about okay, so what happens? Well, technically, in a sense, we're already there. That all the land we know the entirety of the globe. We know what you can calculate exactly how much land there is, and it's all owned by either
The government.
someone or some entity.
Most of the
I
government.
think
most
is
of
owned
it's
by-
actually
and
not
technically,
used.
yeah.
most of it's
I
not
mean,
used.
if you're
Government is owns
if
most
you're
of it.
paying property taxes, guess what? They kind of actually really own it.
And actually, the
yeah.
percentage of land that's actually premium arable land is very small, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
So technically, it's
And what is it? 90% of Alaska is all owned by the federal government or something like that.
Nevada's
Same
like
thing in Nevada.
80%.
Yeah, Alaska and Nevada are
Yeah.
both like that. So what happens in the future if all of a sudden, I mean, which we're all crossing our fingers for, of course, in a non-violent fashion, that one day it just goes and it's gone. All right, so
Collapses,
it's
yeah.
gone. What happens to all that? Who gets that? Do you do? Do you
do people honor? It's really about what are people going to honor?
Mhm.
Are they going to honor the fact that I paid certain amount for a plot? I don't know if people will. I don't know. It's really a cultural thing. Are people going to honor the fact that I own something? I don't know.
What's the
It's-
difference
it's-
between land and some other property?
Well, that's yeah.
So-
You were saying yeah.
It's
Like-
mostly about scarcity, I think, is kind of what the picture
right.
is.
So the land is finite. So using the toothbrush, the car, the personal computer, all these things are possessions that are not that other people aren't dependent upon. It's for
It's-
yourself, right?
Privilege.
It's
Yeah.
the
Well-
same thing as anything that is finite. When you have something that we don't have enough for everybody, which in this case, I'm not sure that is actually the case, that we don't have enough. But what is available, like we were talking about, the government owning so much right now, that makes it so that it's harder to buy land, it's more expensive. And yeah, when it's finite, that's really when we have problems. If there's something where everybody has enough, you're not gonna have an issue. We wouldn't have a podcast on something.
Who gets shafted
We don't have
with
a
the,
podcast on
with the
air.
quarter acre in
We
the
don't have
Mojave?
air forever.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Well, so I do definitely
Not enough
understand-
air to do a podcast. We're next week. I don't know what we're doing, but we're not going to be here. Have a good night, everybody.
So I definitely understand that point, but on the flip side, though, isn't property in some general sense a way to reduce conflict when people disagree
that's-
about
yeah.
something?
I mean,
I kind of-
that's been something like sometimes I'll explain my view of property to somebody who is more in the notion of you can only the things that you can possess are property, and land in itself cannot be property. Like the Georgian view of it, is that what it's called?
Yeah, Henry George.
Georgist and,
George's,
yeah.
Henry George.
and Henry George, yeah, which is correct because somebody at one point told me George Washington. I looked into it and I go, they're wrong. But anyways, so the way I explain it is that there's all these different views of what property is, but even in other species, they acknowledge some form of territory, dominion, property, whatever you may call it, whatever sort of description we want to give it.
Well, there's a solution. We just need to pee on things.
What?
Yeah, okay, well, done. Have a good night, everybody. Turn off the cameras. We're done. Hey, did we do that under
Solved.
half an hour? Okay.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, so no, but seriously, can we? This is not a serious show. There's no serious here. But like a kangaroo rat digs a burrow,
But how
right?
does a robot pee? No, it's right.
No, we still have time to talk about robot sex. Let's give it. We've got a couple more minutes and other stuff. Then we'll get to robot sex.
Jump the
Okay.
gun.
Don't jump the gun. All right. So like a kangaroo rat digs a burrow, right? I mean, this is a weird, cool looking animal. Kangaroo rats are awesome, by the way, in case you've never seen one.
Kangaroo rat?
Kangaroo rat. They live in the
They
desert.
look like a kangaroo.
Google will show it to
Yeah,
you.
It's a really cool looking animal. They
Once
live,
we get out of our EMP-proof bunker.
yeah. It's after we leave
They're
the improved.
endangered.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They live
Google
in
what rat? Kangaroo rat.
rats. Kangaroo rats. So, I mean, and I'm just using that as an example because I think they're cool. But almost any animal does this. They dig a burrow, right? Any other animal that comes in there, even one of their own species, they're gonna flip out if another kangaroo rat goes in
Oh,
there.
goes into their little
Yeah,
burrow thing. Okay.
or a
They're
kite.
not going to invite them in and say, come for tea.
No. They'll flip out.
Oh,
So
okay.
same thing with a
I
coyote.
wouldn't
Same
either.
thing with so many different animals that the idea of some sort of like control over this is mine, I think personally is somewhat universal, at least on this planet.
Well,
to a point.
only because I paid some of my, I worked for my money. And
Kangaroo rat didn't work for his money.
Well,
You see what I'm saying?
then
Like,
he
it's
should
just-
invite,
there's something,
he should
you know.
invite me in. He should say, come for tea. This is
Well,
all of
that's
our
kind of an
land.
interesting point, though. Like,
You
maybe
know?
there's win-lose, win-win type
I
of...
think it's about using energy to change something. You're using your energy to
I
change
used my,
it.
well, I
Yeah,
don't,
that-
no, I didn't change
Well,
it. I purchased it. I said this
but you
coordinates,
worked,
I
and somebody
worked.
exchanged it for
It's-
money,
right.
and that money basically represents your
Even
energy.
though
So
the
there's a-
original people stole it from somebody.
There's the
yeah.
theory that you work the land, so therefore the land becomes your possession, right?
Yeah.
But, is that really
So
the
if I
case?
don't
You know
work
what
the
I mean? Like,
land, does it not
no, building
become
a
my
house
possession?
and the house is your
I think
materials.
that's what originally
Yeah,
makes it yours.
you-
in order-
Yeah, but if I have 10,000 acres and one house, it's
So-
like
so say
how
if-
much land and house is the right ratio? I
Well,
just,
yeah, I don't.
So two things. First off, well, it depends on how much acid you take, Alice, before the kangaroo rat invites you in for tea, okay? So I'm just gonna start like, I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. I'm like thinking like, kangaroo rat invites you in for tea. How does that happen? Well, Alice, it depends on how much acid you take.
Makes you, one pill makes you small.
Yeah.
One
And then I guess what was the other thing I was gonna say about that? So I got distracted now. That was really like a really funny vision in my head of a kangaroo rat with a teacup and like, come on in, Christy. So All right, so you're saying like one house, 10,000 acres.
Well,
or
I'm just
something,
saying,
right? I mean,
who is the governing body over this?
And
You know,
you
it's
know, I
like,
mean-
what?
Well, voluntary society, we know there's no governing.
That's what I'm saying, but so then, like, then
I
there
think
is
it's more.
no,
I think
it's-
it's more if you have a trusted person who is keeping track of this, or a trusted organization, whatever it is,
keeping track of.
who owns what property. If you're talking about property like land.
No, yeah, but
So
we
but
go
you would
into the
want some-
use of the land. I have a
Yeah.
house, so it was talked about, if I put a house on something that's using it, but if I have a house on 10,000 acres versus a house on 1 acre, you know, that's like we have here. Is it not used if I have a house on 10,000 acres, but it's used if I have a house on 1 acre? I mean, that's who's gonna say what's right and wrong.
I mean, as long as
I think one house on 10,000 acres is perfect, because then there's
I-
10,000
I-
acres to be.
I mean, I largely agree with you, right? I'm just saying that I hope that there is an ethics that evolves.
I know,
right?
That's-
I agree.
that-
I
that's-
agree with you,
that's
I
that's.
do.
I
That's
think
what I'm
if,
saying.
I think
I
if you
do.
do have an organization like I'm talking about that is basically registering land or basically registering is I think would be a good word.
In transfer of something, goods being transferred
Whatever it is,
between
basically
people?
somebody who is keeping track of who's buying, who owns what property.
Okay, so then it's still property being able to be transferred between
Yeah,
people.
and I think that same organization could possibly also basically divide or I don't know how you could do it, but when you're setting up the land, have it so that it's used to its most potential. You're getting the most out of the land that you can.
Yeah, but maybe
so
you
the-
don't want to get anything out of
Yeah,
the
so-
land. Maybe
so-
you want to preserve it. That I really think.
I think there's definitely a market for that too.
I think there's
though.
a lot of a
So you could
huge
say
market
that-
for preserving.
This land should be preserved for
Yeah.
some reason,
For whatever,
or
just
whatever it
because,
is.
yeah.
And I think that could be part of like the
For kangaroo rats.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
kangaroo rats. Yes.
sometimes I look at things really simplistically. Sometimes really super simple to the point where I should probably flesh things out a little bit better. So as to try to make a little bit more sense out
Flush
of
it right here.
Flesh it out.
Yes.
For some reason, I've been using that term a whole lot.
Flesh or flush?
Flesh.
Oh, no.
Flesh it out. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but yeah. But let's put it this way. So let's say you pay X amount of money for let's go with that example again, 10,000 acres, and I think it should be enough to maintain what you are calling your property because you paid money for it and somebody has transferred ownership of that to you from somebody else, and there's a record of it and there's witnesses and all that sort of stuff. If you were to put up T-posts and some chicken wire and you just simply put up a sign that said, "Yo, this is my property. Do not manipulate it, without my permission."
Right.
That should be enough.
Without my permission, yo.
Yeah,
Yo.
yeah. You go ahead and end it with another yo if you want to. I mean, that is what 26 words that can fit on a small.
And how many languages though?
I think it is.
5? Top 5?
No,
So I think it is.
whatever the local language is, whatever.
Okay.
I think it's also smart for people to use the land wisely, though. I would never advocate force against somebody who I don't think they're using their land wisely or anything like that.
But who's gonna enforce
Yeah,
that?
I don't know. That's what I'm
Okay,
saying. There
right,
shouldn't be an enforcement
right,
for
okay,
that.
All right.
But I think it should just. I think it is and should be.
Do we chastise them? Do we
Just
make
like
them
if the
bad
laws
and
were
wrong?
gone tomorrow,
Right. Do we
would
make
you
them
start? Would
as-
you go and own a human?
No, like we
Right?
would.
We've evolved
No.
past
Okay,
that.
so we're
That's
talking
awesome.
we're talking about owning humans. We're talking.
No,
about
no,
owning
but
humans.
it's more the morality stuff.
Well,
What
no,
do we,
no,
how
okay.
do we make people bad and wrong for doing immoral things?
Well,
Do we make them bad and wrong because we can now with
So-
social media, with all those different things, we can make people.
so
Yeah,
if we
ostracize.
can
Yeah,
no
we can
longer
ostracize them. We can tar and feather them. It's
if we
like-
can no longer
in a different
own a
way.
human, right? So all right. So if we can no longer own a human, and we've got a future, and we're getting there really quick, where you're developing some sort of of an android where you can. Hey, robot sex, everybody. Have a good night. Do we have enough time to fucking...
Wait, but can the robot pee on the land?
But wait.
Can you have a sentient
robot-
kangaroo rat that built a burrow to
They're supposed to put their pee so that it's their place. That's their
Can
place.
robots urinate on
Yes,
land
I
to
think
market
that's
property?
really it.
And is
Will-
that a
will
And
legitimate
will it
claim?
smell just like their smell?
Is it
Is
would it smell
Dude,
like
would
used
robots-
oil or would it
Would robots claim property like like cats when they rub on it.
Cats do. The
I
cats
think they
do
like
that.
rub
What?
on
Do
it.
they?
I don't
Oh,
know.
they're pheromones, and they're no. They're
Uh,
pheromones. Oh,
You know what? I
I
think
don't
we're almost
know.
out of time.
Well,
I
you know, I
know.
mean, we've
all right. Comments
says about
below.
30
We want to
there.
hear
Comments
all
again.
the comments.
Robot Sex episode is coming soon. Have a good night, everybody. Have a wonderful
Cheers.
weekend.
Thumbs up.